Good morning. Good morning. Hello, my loves. My name is Destina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we are going to be looking at the transits for March the 6th, Monday, March the 6th. That is this morning, all the way through March the 12th. Now, I've actually recorded this 2 other times, and I'm just going to say user error, just 100% user error. With launching the podcast, I changed my platform, and sometimes I make mistakes. You know, Dusty is human. Dusty makes mistakes, and it happens. It just bear with me. So, the key and biggest transit of this week is actually going to happen March the 7th. It happens tomorrow morning. Now, remember, I am Central Time, so running off Central Time, you're going to hear me say it based off of that. So you'll need to adjust a little bit for your own personal time zone. But the energy going into that full moon, we're already in it. And we've been in it. I mean, we've really started to feel it kind of falling into place and building last week. And that started right whenever Mercury had that conjunction to Saturn. They had that conjunction at 29 degrees. And if you listen to the monthly forecast, what I said is it's like they team up. There's a conversation, news is given, Mercury leaves Saturn, and then cannonballs into Pisces. And now Mercury is in Pisces. The thing about Mercury in Pisces is he's not happy in Pisces. This is not a good sign for him. He likes to do everything very quick, moving very fast, a lot of progress, not sticking to one subject or one situation for far too long, because he needs variety and he needs selection. The thing is, he's in the sign of the largest planet in our galaxy. So he's not doing well. He's floating. Do you guys remember the boat car from, I think it was the 60s, 50s, 60s? They did this line of cars that you could just drive into the water. The thing is, they didn't stick around for very long. The reason they didn't stick around for very long is because water. It rusted the vehicles. It created all sorts of mechanical and engine failures and all sorts of issues. And the boat car is Mercury in Pisces. I'm just trying to make it from this channel to this channel. I don't want to be here for very long. If I sit here for very long, things are going to rust. I'm going to fall apart, and it's just not going to work well. And that's the thing. A lot of people are not working well. They're not functioning well. They're not cluing into every single part of the day and every single part of the week. And there's nothing wrong. It's because we are dealing with Mercury, the ruler of our thoughts, the ruler of communication, the ruler of logistics, is now in this water sign that he doesn't do well in. And the thing about Mercury going through Pisces, and the thing about these next few weeks while he's in this area, is that everybody that we're talking to, everybody that we're trying to do stuff with, everything that we're trying to work through, you can't skip steps. It's like walking on icy steps. You're not going to skip. In fact, you must go slower. You must be more careful. You must expect the unexpected. We are in this romanticized, idealistic, oh yeah, everything's going to go great and everything's going to go to plan. The thing is the plan is to get to this point, which is great. Get to this point. The problem is all those steps to get there. And the thing I want to bring about the next few weeks, and as we're trying to hit a certain target that we're really building to, is that we need to baby step it. And we need to, in those baby steps, expect side steps. Expect the unexpected. Expect for things not to go to plan. You can clearly communicate all that you want to, but if everybody is in the same water-filled area, sound doesn't carry through water. You can yell all you want to into a pool of water, into the lake. When you're underwater, that sound goes nowhere. It hits that solid fluidity and just turns into nothing. What escapes the surface is air, not sound, air. And whenever you put this part into perspective and we think of how people are working right now and how people are moving right now, expect things to get messed up. Expect technical issues. Me recording this for the third time, technical issues. Expect those things. People aren't functioning well. They're very easy to squirrel. They're very easy to hit that melancholy of, oh, I just kind of want to go play outside. I don't want to. It's springtime. We're starting to feel springtime, at least. It's not officially springtime. But we're starting to feel that nicer weather. Most of us, some of us, not everybody. I know there's been a lot of like super snows up top. But we're getting to a point where we just don't want to sit still anymore. And a lot of us are ready for new days. One of the things I've really noticed about the energy as of late is that for once, every day actually feels like a new day. Every day feels like we're going to be making steps forward. And for a long time, it didn't feel that way. It just kind of felt like this weird, energetic version of Groundhog Day of just not knowing where to go, not knowing how to progress, not knowing how to move forward, not seeing progression, not feeling progression. So much of the last part of 2022, we were all very stuck and not able to get things to progress and move forward. And I'm telling you, based off of where the energy has been and everything that has been transitioning and everything that we've been moving towards, everything since the beginning of this year has been pushing and sliding energies and people and places and situations into the place where they need to be. So that way, when progression can finally start, that means all the right players are on the chessboard. Everybody's in their spot. Everybody's in their position. Everybody is where they need to be as we start this new kind of energy. And as we go through the rest of March and as we go through the rest of these, upcoming weeks, we're going to feel a lot of that shift. And we're going to feel it for multiple reasons. We're going to feel it for very different reasons. And the big energy really starts this week. We're starting things this week that are going to, one, play out over the next few months through eclipse season. Two, things that we are going to be going through this month, this week through the rest of this month, are the things that we're going to be dealing with even later this year. We're starting new things. We're starting new chapters. We're going to be dealing with this new area of our life for a very long time. Get comfortable. Sorry. Since I'm having to record this again, I haven't had time for my allergy medicine to kick in yet. So hopefully this screen is sharing properly. Hopefully I've got that part figured out now. That was why we're re-recording, by the way, because all I was talking in the last one and you guys weren't able to see the chart. So I'm starting this chart off with tomorrow morning's full moon. So again, today is Monday, March the 6th. The full moon is technically tomorrow, 6:40 a.m. However, when we start adjusting for our time zones, basically we're waking up to a certain kind of energy. At least here in America we are. Full moons are usually about completions. But the thing is, this full moon is right at the start of something. So this isn't necessarily a completion. We might be some of us might be wrapping some things up, specifically if you are a Libra rising or an Aquarius rising. You guys could be wrapping some things up. However, this isn't necessarily wrap up energy. It's more level up energy. And that can be a completion. It's just some people don't necessarily see it as a completion. If you've interviewed for a job and you got a promotion, the internal way of getting a new position, we look at that as, I got promoted and I'm progressing and I'm moving forward and yay. But really, it's still a completion. That old way of doing things, that old position, it's not yours anymore. You take that knowledge, you take that experience, and you move forward with it, and you grow it, you install it in other people. However, that position of where you used to be, you're not that anymore. We're not students anymore. We've progressed from that. We are out of the classroom, most of us. Some of us are still in classrooms. That's usually voluntarily, but still. It's time for a change. And this full moon, which should a lot of times represent a completion, this is not a completion. This is a level up energy. This is taking something to the next level. This is bringing forth that new energy. This is bringing forth a new idea and new inspiration and new creativity. Why am I saying it that way? Because this is a full moon in Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. And the thing about Virgo is he's very, very critical. It's a very critical, I want things to flow and go in those steps, literally those steps. But the thing is, the ruler of Virgo, Mercury, is in Pisces, which is about art and fluidity and spirituality and being zen and being one and being at peace with a lot of things. So for a lot of us, after having so much of our lives upheaved these last few years while Saturn has been in Saturn-ruled signs, what I'm telling you is Saturn is finally getting out of his home. He's finally leaving, and we're ending basically a 6-year cycle. And now we're going back to Saturn in a Jupiter sign, which we haven't experienced since like back in 2017 and 2018. We haven't had this in a while. So now it's time for a different level of progression. It's time for a shift in the energy. It's time for a shift. I keep saying time. Why is that? Because Daddy Saturn rules time. Yes, I call him Daddy Saturn. This has been established with a lot of people. He's saying, okay, I've done this. We've done this. This area of our life has changed, whatever Aquarius rules in your chart. And now we're going to progress into something that is more Jupiterian, that is more expansive, that is more boastful, that is more jubilant and jovious and trying to do things that bring happiness, that get us in touch with our inner selves and bring us to a whole different mindset. And one of the things I really, really enjoyed these last 2 years while Jupiter was going through Pisces is how much spirituality has grown. And I feel like now that Saturn is moving into this area with Pisces, we're going to see even more shifts in regards to how we connect to Earth and how we connect to our spirituality and how we need to reconnect with these areas of life, reconnect with Creator, reconnect with God, whatever you want to call the little man in the sky. He is yours. Do what you do. How we connect to this is going to be a lot more serious, because the thing that a lot of people need right now is a level of healing that's not just physical. It is truly recognizing the healing of those traumas and the healing of certain things that need to be healed, not just as individuals, but within society. Part of this full moon is a mindset shift for the next few years. Why do I say it that way? Because of how long Saturn is going to be in Pisces. The ruler of time is going to be in this area. And we're going to see large shifts and large awakenings, even more than what we've already been dealing with. So many people have reached that fun, known way, the air way of spirituality. But now that Saturn is going into Pisces, there's going to be a lot more dark nights of the soul. There's going to be a lot more people that need to have levels of healing. And the thing is, as somebody that has had a dark night of the soul now and has actually, did the full spectrum, is not all of us have time for that. So there is going to be shifts in regards to how people connect to their spirit and how people connect within the healing. There is going to be a lot of active practice, active faith and active spirituality. And we're seeing this boom and this grow in this area. And it's not a coincidence. It's because of where the transits are. And it's because, especially in the last year, Jupiter's energy in Aries. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces and he is the ruler of Sagittarius. We're not really talking about Sagittarius. We're more focused on Pisces. This full moon, where we have the moon here at 16 degrees and 40 minutes opposite the sun. Whatever season we're in, the full moon is in the opposite sign, always. So here's this full moon in Virgo. If I bumped this by 1 hour, so this is 6:40 a.m. Central Time, 1 hour, bump, 7 a.m. Yes, the ascendant moved. However, that's normal. I'll explain that in another video later this week. But then we have this right here. As soon as this full moon perfects, Saturn changes signs. As soon as the full moon gets past that 16 degree mark, Saturn comes into the sign of Pisces. So we're looking at the ruler of this full moon, Mercury, is in Pisces. Saturn, the ruler of time, the ruler of law, the ruler of boundaries, and everything that comes down to, ruling over people and putting certain laws in place in certain institutions, is going into this place of spirituality and faith. The sun is in Pisces. That won't last for very long. Literally within 2 weeks, we'll be in Aries season, which will be great. However, mixing all of those together, there is a new connection in regards to spirituality, in regards to a higher understanding and higher knowledge and how we connect to our higher selves. It's in the energy. And this is going to be a week that leads to a huge amount of shift for the collective and for individuals and for our hearts and for our minds and for our souls. We are going through the first parts of a new type of awakening. There's been a lot of people that have already been dealing with it. A lot of people that have already had certain things activated for them. I'm telling you, the next round is coming. And it's going to come through the months ahead. Saturn's energy here, that's exactly what that's stating. Now, Saturn is at 0 degrees. He will go all the way to 8 degrees of Pisces, turn retrograde, and go all the way back to 0 degrees of Pisces. We are officially done with Saturn in Saturn-ruled signs. We are done with Saturn in his home. He's out of his home, and now he's the guest of other people, the guest of the other planets. Therefore, he has to mimic the energies tied to those other planets. Saturn is a shift. And I feel Saturn's shift coming. I feel how this is starting to really transpose inside of people. I'm seeing the growth and the change, and I'm seeing how more and more people are able to be very public and accessible, including myself, with their faith and with their spirituality. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's very common and very popular to do this. And there's a lot of excitement in the energy because we're all starting to have those first steps of progression. Whether those steps for some people are they're on step like 20 or step 3, that part doesn't matter. Your healing process versus my healing process are two different things. The way I heal, the way I function, the way I process things is not the way that you will process them. It's not the way that your buddy's going to process them. It's not the way that your dog is going to process their trauma. That's a real thing. We are moving towards something very different. And a lot of this energy right now has a lot of people feeling very hopeful, very excited, and very boastful. I don't know how many people I got messages from this weekend like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad you said this was going to work out well. This is better than what I even thought it would be. Good. That's great news. That's great energy to be in. There's a reason for a lot of that, and there's a purpose for a lot of it. And we're feeling a big shift, not just in this full moon, but over the next few weeks following it, a big shift in our trajectory. Some of us have already been working on this. Some of us already know that we're on a new path. Some people don't realize they're about to be on a new path because they're still fighting it. And they're still trying to stick with the norm and what they've known for a long time. And the thing is, it's time to let go. It's time to shift, and it's time to shift our mindset, and it's time to start making certain changes. And as this week continues, following this full moon, we feel that buildup. We feel that area of change coming through, a different perspective, a different spectrum. We feel these things coming, and we're going towards something very, very new. I love this full moon's energy. I got to be honest. Not every full moon is so powerful, and the fact that this one is so powerful based off of the other transits involved, and this is a non-eclipse full moon. We don't have we'll have an eclipse full moon 2 months from now. This is a normal full moon, but there's so much complementary energy to it that it's going to truly launch some things forward, shift certain things, shift those Jupiterian things in our life and those Mercurial things in our life. We're changing the way that we communicate. We're changing the way that we process things. We're changing certain things in our routine and in our dynamic. And part of it is because we're tired of being so critical of ourselves. Virgo, again, being that critical sign, we're tired of being critical of ourselves. We need flexibility. This energy is very flexible. If you are struggling with flexibility or mobility, I suggest get your butt on the floor, if you can, and do some yoga. Do those things that stretch those tensions out of your body, because we need that release. We need the emotional release. We need the spiritual release. We need the traumatic release. We need to unlock those things and allow for a certain amount of healing to finally be a part of the conversation. It's really interesting to me that there's so many people that they get triggered when they hear the word trauma. They're not triggered because they have their own trauma that, well, some of them, I should say it that way. Some people are getting triggered because they have their own trauma that needs to be healed, and they have not, clarified within themselves that they're worth healing. And that's not fair. The shift and the adjustment is going to come later this week. A lot of this energy is going to be about, seeing the progression and seeing our steps and seeing a new way of doing things, a new part of our routine, a new way of being of service, a new way of caring for ourselves, a new way of caring for other people. But then what's going to follow is going to be more activity and more insight and more progression. As conversations continue, there will be more confusion. Mercury's in a water sign, specifically Pisces. So as much confusion as there is, and as much as we're trying to progress, we need to be both boastful, because we're all excited about something, and mindful. Be mindful that you don't have control of the shower nozzle. You don't have control about how hard the water is hitting their head and hitting you only control the water, how much it's hitting yours. Doesn't matter how clear you think you're going to be communicating things, there will be people that cannot understand you because they're so focused on how they want to respond, they didn't even hear what you said. They are so focused on what they think is going to happen, and they didn't actually comprehend what you needed. And they didn't necessarily look at where you were going. They were just sticking to their routine. Be mindful that not everybody is going to shift in their routine. Not everybody's going to shift in their communication. Not everybody's going to be able to shift all at the same time. They're just not. The energy that we're in on Monday is building into where the energy is going to be on Tuesday. We're really going to feel that shift once Saturn comes into Pisces. He's going to amplify the energy of where Jupiter is, and Jupiter is in that active, reactive, ambitious, vibrant Mars sign. Jupiter's in Aries. Anything that we think that we are capable of doing, we're doing it. Anything that we feel that needs to happen, we're running with it. Here's the disclaimer. Because this all sounds like great sunshine and rainbows and everybody's going to be collectively awakened and, oh, look, it's the age of Aquarius. Not so fast. It's not. It's not that. It's not that at all. It's more along the lines of there are going to be some people that they are taking their steps lightly because they understand growing or doing something too quickly will create a mess. The fact that the ruler of our mind, the ruler of our a way to communicate, Mercury, is in that water sign. Don't rush things. If you see other people rushing things, you might, throw the flag a little bit like, hey, don't go too fast. Maybe think some things through. Really put some things in perspective. Nope, I got it. I'm great. Everything's great. Everything's going to plan. As the one flaw I really see with Jupiter is as it continues to go through Aries, as I see more and more of that ego. And it's not the negative sense of ego. It's just like we are so stuck on the hopefulness that we forget cyclical things, that history repeats itself. You can't grow and grow and grow forever. After a while, you have to realize anything that inflates so quickly will also deflate just as quickly. And we will have these reality checks, the little ones and the big ones. And there is small reality checks later this week, but they're not nearly as big as some of the ones that we're going to hit next week. And those reality checks are going to remind us, hey, did you do the thing? Are we in the right place? Are these things moving appropriately? Do we have everything where we need it to be? You'll have those reality checks next week. Now, I'm going to bump this a few days. I want to talk about one of the reality checks. So this is Friday the 10th. And I expect, while the moon is going through Libra, Libra is not a horrible sign. It's a Venus ruled sign. It's about marriage. It's about balance, about partnership. It's about things being very, very equal. The thing about whenever the moon is going to go through Libra is we're going to start the day where the moon will have an opposition to Venus. So here's the moon at 24. I'm just going to leave it at 24. This is at 7:40 a.m. my time. But basically, we're going to wake up to the moon going opposite Venus and making a trine to Mars. But Mars is re-entering the square to Neptune. So there's something that starts to build in the energy, and it's more than one person or one situation at play. We're going to have back and forth with a certain individual that has maybe the knowledge of where you're going, getting advice from somebody else to make sure we're going in the right direction. And the thing is sometimes we're not going to like the advice. So just prepare for that. But the level of communication and the level of back and forth and the level of things that are building right here, they are meant to be very constructive. They're meant to be very inspiring. They're meant to be very, very clear. But the thing is, if you can't understand what they're saying, their experience level is far beyond yours for whatever reason, or you just don't have as much knowledge. So whenever you're hearing certain things, like me talking about astrology, going squares, sextiles, trines, you try to keep up. I know. I also try to explain as best as possible, but I also know I'm not the best at explaining things sometimes. It happens. The moon will later in the evening hit a square to Pluto. I meant to do that by hour. So let's bump this a little bit by hour. Okay. So this is 5:40 p.m. Central Time. Here is the moon at 29 degrees of Libra, making a square. You see my little squares right here to Pluto. And Pluto is also about to change signs. This happens 2 weeks from this date, like 2 weeks, just short of 2 weeks. The moon will make a square to Pluto. And the thing about this square is it makes that 29 degree, that finality level of a square. It is our emotions, the moon, our emotions, our intuition, the intuitive side and the, I don't want to just say emotional, the instinctive side inside of us making a square to the planet of both fear, transformation, death, trauma, change, reincarnation. There can be something very triggering by the end of the day, something that is meant to trigger us so we can start to work through it. If you're not triggered, if you go out Friday night and everything is great, enjoy yourself. Not everybody's going to have that situation. There's going to be some people that they are so stressed out from how the earlier parts of the day went that anything that you say that evening is just going to set them off. That's a temporary set off. It's very, very temporary because literally within an hour, the moon is going to go into Scorpio and make its very first trine to Saturn. Now, trines are parts of a triangle. This is a water sign speaking to a water sign. The moon is in Scorpio, which is a water sign, making a gentle, positive connection to Saturn, also in a water sign. I feel like there's going to be a lot of emotions at play this coming weekend. The 10th, the 11th, the 12th. Friday night, the moon's going to go into Scorpio, and that's where he's going to be all weekend. He won't change signs until Monday, really. So the moon's main connection here is going to be a trine to Saturn. Then the next day we'll trine Mercury, trine the sun, trine Neptune, going all the way into Sunday. And the only opposition that we'll have here will be this opposition to Uranus. And it is Uranus, not Uranus, Uranus. Uranus in Taurus. So there's something very progressive, very understanding, lethargic, letting something go, purging something, releasing something. The moon making that trine to Saturn. It's the first connection the moon has made to Saturn since the full moon and since Saturn changed signs. There's something very constructive here. It is time to talk about something, have an emotional connection, have something from the depths inside of us come to the surface, especially as we get throughout the rest of the evening and the moon makes that connection to the south node. Now, I will admit, for a lot of people, when I see them go through moon south node stuff, there has been people that they just feel everything that they need to let go of. And then what they feel like is that these things just keep coming to the surface. They keep coming to the surface. It's not just things are coming to the surface. When the moon hits the south node, if you have an area that needs to be purged, that needs to be healed, that needs to be released, we feel it when the moon hits the south node. We feel this area where we need to heal our wounds. And the thing is, the wounds that need to be healed right now are much larger than you realize, because there is another healing transit at play this weekend, and that is this right here. Down in Aries, we have Jupiter at 14 degrees coming into a conjunction with Chiron. Jupiter and Chiron are both very slow moving planets. Even at the first of the week, these two planets are within a degree of each other. Jupiter is our abundance, it's our prosperity, it's our happiness, it's the things that we're wanting to go well in life, making a conjunction to Chiron, the wounded healer. He brings the things that need to be tended to, that need to be healed. He has the ability to heal. You have the ability to heal. We all have the ability to both be happy and aware and heal certain things within us. And as the weekend progresses and as the moon progresses and makes those gentle connections to the sign of Pisces, there's a lot of purge, but not in the negative sense. It's just like, I finally feel like I can talk about something. I finally feel like it's okay to talk about something. Even if you don't necessarily feel like it's okay, you could just feel the need to actually have a conversation. I need to talk this out. I need to have this discussion. And we're going to feel like we need to contact certain people to overcome certain things. We're going to feel this need to reach out to certain people because we need to reach out to them. They need to hear from us just as much as we need to hear from them. And we're going to start to see that emotional shift little by little start to play out. An emotional shift that's going to take most of this next year. But as those shifts happen and as those conversations happen, do not react. Be mindful. Take very clear steps. Be very aware of where you're going. Be very aware of how everyone else is dealing with things and that you don't have control of how they deal with them. That also means you do not have to deal with their projection. So if you have somebody that's more in that attack mode, I don't feel like this weekend is the attack mode energy, but emotions are weird. Let's be fair about that. If there is somebody that's like just when they let that onslaught of words come out of their mouth and they kind of, it feels like you're getting attacked by somebody, don't put up with it. You can still walk away from that. You don't have to put up with that. So do whatever is necessary for you to keep your mind and body, in alignment, but also expect that other people need to purge certain things out. And it's very likely that you can have those conversations, feel those things, and you can see the access and see the motions of the first inklings of awakening. It's not full steps. It's like, I'm putting my shoes on. I'm going to take the steps. The process of putting on my socks and my shoes is still a part of the process. Can you walk barefoot? Sure. Are you more likely to, cut yourself? Yes. There needs to be parts of the process. Allow each step to play through this week as it needs to, as it should. Don't be reactive. And if somebody does not understand or they give you something that is not what you expected, hold it together and understand that the conversations that are going to come through this coming weekend are also going to feed into a big part of the energy of our drive and our passion and where we're going through next week. Because we are building towards a certain amount of transits that are going to occur all next week. And they all have to do with these three right here and Mars. We'll throw in Venus and Pluto just as a little bit of spice midweek, but really, the mutable energy and the mutable signs, these changeable signs, they're the bigger energy, and we're building towards things that are going to occur next week more so than where we're at this week. Baby step it. If you're excited, I'm excited for you. But not everybody is going to be as excited about what you're working on as you are. So be boastful, enjoy yourself, whatever you're working on, whatever you're feeling is finally falling into place and doing well for you and excelling. I'm happy for you. Other people are happy for you, but nobody is as happy for you as you are. Be excited, boastful, be mindful, check yourself, check your ego, and be mindful of other people because not everybody's on the same page as you and I. Okay. This takes us through most of next week. There will be another episode, 2 more episodes this week, one that's going to be specifically for the full moon, and I will do the full moon based off of the rising signs. And then I'm also going to do a bit of an Astrology 101 video and explain certain aspects of astrology, but from my perspective. I'm putting some things in layman's terms to see if they help some people out. So I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much. Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.